Hello everyone. Today's topic is brought to you by Kumkum Sharma. And today we are going to talk about Helen Keller, deafblind author and activist. First, we'll go with description. Helen Keller is known around the world as a symbol of courage in the face of overwhelming odds. Helen Keller was so important to change the attitudes of the world towards handicapped people, but in particular blind and deaf people. About Helen Keller. Helen Adams Keller was born with full sight and hearing on 27 June 1880 in Tuscumbia, Alabama. Yet, at 19 months, she was stricken with what at that time was called brain fever and was left both blind and deaf. About the life of Helen Keller. Now we'll discuss what was the life of Helen Keller. Helen Keller was very privileged, means having special rights, little girl. Her parents were quite wealthy and her mother in particular was very intelligent and very read, and she contacted the Perkins School for the Blinds and managed to get help in the form of Annie Sullivan Macy, the now very famous teacher of Helen Keller. Now, her mother especially was very well educated and she has many contacts. So she contacted in Perkins School for deaf and blind people and managed to get help. Means she called off a teacher named Annie Sullivan Macy for her daughter. Annie Sullivan again working finger spelling and other ways to try to communicate with very little success until one moment, the aha moment. That means Annie Sullivan works with finger spelling. And she tried many other ways to communicate with that little girl until the most and the very aha moment came. It hit Annie to take Helen out to the water pump, and she pumped the water and let the cold water flow through Helen's one hand while she finger spelled water, and the other hand everything just came together for Helen and for Annie, and all of the sudden the behavioral problems disappeared. Now, when Annie pumped the water, Helen was playing with the water. So she thought that she spelled water on one hand of Helen and tried to communicate and tell her that this thing is water. She tried again and again, but the very aha moment that we talked earlier has just came. They started finger spelling and they managed to develop 30 new words by the end of the first day, and they were on their way. Then they started to spelling fingers and developed 30 new words at the end of first day. By the age 10, Helen Keller had mastered Braille as well as manual alphabet. She also learned to use a typewriter. By age 16, Keller could speak well enough to go to preparatory school, and by age 24, she had graduated from Radcliffe College. She is the first deaf-blind person to graduate from a college. She graduated in 1904, and Sullivan Macy, her brilliant teacher, had to manually sign every single lesson into her hand. When Helen was still in college, she wrote her first book her biography. From that, she began writing other articles and speaking, and because of her deaf blindness, people would pay attention in a way that they didn't do other people, perhaps. And she used to advocate for not just disability issues but political and social issues, including women's suffrage, birth control, and other issues as well. Helen Keller was famous from the age of 8, but her celebrity increased as she championed the cause of those with her disability internationally. That means Helen Keller was famous when she was age of 8, but she has increased her celebrity when she championed internationally in the cause of those with suffered from disabilities. During the 1930s, 40s and 50s, she traveled the world, 39 countries, bringing hope and courage to millions of people. She changed the perception of people with vision loss. Rehabilitation centers. Now, what is the meaning of rehabilitation centers? It is a center or clinic where people with an alcohol or drug addiction are treated. And schools for the deaf blind were established because of her visits. In the late 50s and early 60s, Helen's life story was brought to the masses with The Miracle Worker. First in a TV movie, then in a Broadway show, and finally an Oscar-winning movie. She knew everybody from Alexander Graham Bell to Lyndon B. Johnson, who was the 36th US President from 1963 to 1969. And she was brilliant at leveraging, means use of something to maximum advantage. All of the people she knew for help to change the lives of those with vision loss. Helen Keller lobbied. Lobbied means seek to influence on an issue. On behalf of the American Federation for the Blind for 44 years. She died in her sleep on June 1st, 1968, just weeks away from her 88th birthday. Conclusion. Helen Keller will be remembered for really transforming the views of the blind and others with disabilities. Prior to her life, people with disabilities were seen as people who did not deserve to live full lives, and Helen Keller's activism, her life story really challenged the stereotype and said that people with disabilities can live a full and complete life.